The Library of Alexandria was the greatest repository of human knowledge in the ancient world. At its peak, it held between 400,000 and 700,000 scrolls, the collected writings of the Greek, Egyptian, Persian, Jewish, and Indian civilizations. Works of medicine, mathematics, astronomy, philosophy, engineering, and history that had taken humanity thousands of years to produce. Most of it is gone. Not in a single dramatic fire. Historians now know the library's destruction happened gradually, through neglect, political decisions, multiple partial burnings across centuries, and the simple failure to copy and preserve what was there. The result is the same either way. We lost it. The question that historians and scientists have returned to for decades is not whether we can recover what was lost. It is what the world looks like today if it was never lost in the first place. The answer compresses 2,000 years of human history into a single shift in trajectory. And it begins in the moment you understand what was actually in those scrolls.
The library is usually presented as a symbol, a romantic idea of ancient wisdom. What it actually contained is far more specific and far more staggering. Hero of Alexandria worked from the library. He built a working steam engine prototype in 100 AD, a reaction turbine. He also designed vending machines, automated doors for temples, and a basic programmable cart. His work was preserved, but only fragments. The engineering knowledge that would have allowed someone to build on his steam engine and develop industrial power was not. Galen of Pergamon worked in Alexandria. His medical knowledge included the relationship between the brain and nervous system, the function of the heart as a pump, and surgical techniques for conditions we still treat today. Much of Galen survived, but the Egyptian medical texts he built on, the ones describing brain surgery, effective anesthesia, and treatments for cancers, did not. Aristarchus of Samos proposed that the Earth orbited the Sun in 270 BC, 1,800 years before Copernicus. His reasoning was documented. The full documentation did not survive. This is what we are discussing. Not philosophy, specific scientific and engineering knowledge with specific consequences for human development.
In the alternate timeline where the library survives, the critical difference is not any single discovery. It is continuity. Scientific progress in our timeline has been repeatedly interrupted. Knowledge was lost, rediscovered, lost again. The ancient world reached extraordinary heights, collapsed, and the medieval world spent centuries recovering ground rather than advancing. In a world where the Library of Alexandria survives through the medieval period, housed in a stable institution with political protection, continuously copied and expanded, that reset never happens. The knowledge of Hero of Alexandria is not a curiosity, it is a foundation. Engineers in 300 AD are building on his steam device rather than rediscovering it in 1700. The medical knowledge of the Egyptian texts is not lost, it compounds. Galen's students have access to 1,000 years of documented surgical outcomes rather than starting from limited surviving texts. Aristarchus's heliocentric model is not suppressed, it is tested, refined, and built upon. The Copernican revolution happens not in 1543, but perhaps in 200 AD. What this means for the trajectory of science and technology is almost impossible to calculate, but historians have tried.
The most studied consequence is the Industrial Revolution. In our timeline, the Industrial Revolution began in Britain in the 1760s and 1770s. It was built on coal, steam power, and a century of accumulated mechanical knowledge developed after the scientific revolution of the 1600s. The scientific revolution itself was built on the rediscovery of Greek and Roman knowledge during the Renaissance of the 14th and 15th centuries, which means the entire chain of development from ancient knowledge to industrial revolution took approximately 1,700 years, most of which was spent recovering and re-establishing what had already been known. In the alternate timeline, that recovery period does not exist. Historians who model this scenario and it is a well-studied field in the history of science, generally place an industrial revolution in the alternate timeline somewhere between 500 and 700 AD. That is approximately 1,000 to 1,200 years earlier than our timeline. The implications cascade from that single shift across every dimension of human civilization: medicine, communication, exploration, and ultimately the political organization of the entire planet.
An industrial revolution by 700 AD changes everything that follows. The Black Death arrives in the 14th century in our timeline and kills 30 to 60% of Europe. In an alternate world where medicine has been compounding continuously for 1,000 additional years, germ theory, which we only developed in the 1860s, is understood by perhaps 1000 AD. The Black Death still spreads, but a civilization that understands disease transmission, that has developed quarantine as a systematic practice, that has 1,000 years more medical knowledge, does not lose half its population. Exploration happens differently. In our timeline, Europeans explored the Americas in 1492, driven partly by the need to find new trade routes after the fall of Constantinople. In an alternate world, sailing technology is 1,000 years more advanced. Transatlantic contact happens perhaps in 700 or 800 AD, when the indigenous civilizations of the Americas are at different stages of development, and the power differential is entirely different. The political map of the world in 2026 in this timeline is not recognizable. Every border, every nation-state, every power structure is built on different foundations.
The Library of Alexandria was not destroyed by ignorance. It was destroyed by politics, by the decisions of rulers who did not value what it contained, by institutions that failed to protect it, by a gradual civilizational failure of attention. That is the most important part of this story. We did not lose this knowledge because it was impossible to preserve. We lost it because the people in power at the time did not understand what they were losing, or did not care. The world we live in today, with its diseases, its political fragmentation, its technological limitations, is in part the product of that failure of attention 2,000 years ago, and we are still paying for it. Subscribe for daily alternate history. Next video: what if the Black Death never happened? The consequences are not what you expect. The world without the plague is not the paradise most people imagine. The full answer drops in 48 hours.